Good morning, I am Nicole Pawa and this is my case study analysis about the law and supply of copper industry. Okay, so in 2011, market demand for copper are still rising strongly on the back of phenomenal growth in China, India, and other emerging market economies in China. The growth had been 15% per year. Stockpiles of copper had been in sharp decline the last few years, which is 2006, 2007, and 2008. It is the scarcity that has driven prices higher while commodities traders outbid each other as they scramble for available supply and hedge on future. Supply has fallen behind the growth of demand and prices can move in only one direction when it happens. Most copper ore is mined or extracted as copper deposits. And then copper prices are at all copper prices are at copper prices are at an all-time high. This base metal is experiencing worldwide and unprecedented growth in demand that is driving the price even higher. The supply volume is stable at this time, with a long-term forecast of increased demand, particularly in China. We may see copper-based wire and cable products increasing in price over at least the next 5 years. An excellent example of growing demand for copper comes from automobile industry, which is the cars, and the average car contains 60.72 pounds of copper. Hybrid cars, which incorporate electric motors in conjunction with combustion engines, could lead to further rises in copper demand by its segment. A typical electric hybrid car might use around two times the current electric motors. The improved technology of batteries and the soaring cost of gasoline have combined to give totally electric vehicle huge momentum in the marketplace. The numerous growing demand for copper have grown much faster than the supply. The low flexibility of price for copper usually stems from a lack of close substitute in the market. For some products and processes, aluminum or plastic may act as a substitute of copper, but there are costs and delays involved in which between materials. Okay. The flexibility in the supply of copper is low. Supply is usually unresponsive to price movement in the short term because of the high fixed cost of developing new extraction process and plants, which typically involves lengthy lead time. Due to the pressure, investors seems resistant to investing in a new copper mining facility at this time. If existing proper copper mining businesses are working close to their current capacity, then a rise in world demand will simply lead to a reduction in available stock. Current copper supply and demand issues may not bring the market back into equilibrium for many years. These price predictions do not even take into account the volatile effect of speculative buying. The demand for copper will continue to remain strong provided that the global industry sectors continue to expand production. But if prices remain high, we can expect to see some shifts occurring. For a start, copper can be recycled, although the cost of doing so are high often. Recycling of wires and cable adds to the supply and a major source of revenue for the asset contractor. However, the surround byproducts of the recycling process includes the release of toxic gases in the atmosphere. Such. Higher prices may be the trigger to the expansion of copper ore production as supply responded to the incentive of increased potential revenue and profits. In recent years, copper mining's production has fallen short of expectations. The rule remains: if the price stay high enough, supplier will eventually respond and expand to the demand, or purchase will find out other product and solution. Many experts feel this is not a temporary condition. So, in conclusion, competition demands that contractor must ensure the price in the bids reflect the current cost of the products from distribution. Increasingly, we are hiring leading distributors, warning the market about the price increasing that are coming because of soaring raw material costs. The copper and petrochemical material have had three sets of price increases in the last couple of years, and there seem to be more coming down the road. Currently, copper cable costs are soaring. It's really high. And yeah, contractors may also build an escalation clause into their bids. Bids should have some protection against the cost increases. Yeah, so that's it. Bye.
Good day everyone. Hi, my name is Javan Julian Vida Mesa and I will be report the case analysis number 1. In my point of view of copper industry, it illustrates the factors of demand and the copper change rapidly because it was used by the small industry and it was back then it was given a name by Dr. Cooper. And also the demand and the higher price indicate and attract many investors, so it will be benefits to the economy. And because of the sudden factors of copper, just like what happened in China, the insatiable of the demand of the metal forced the speculators to sell the copper to reduce their financing costs. And also the consumer, they kept the inventories low to save their capital. Given to because of the higher price of copper, our consumer will seek to find substitute for them to be operate. Example, our aluminum or the plastic piping used in home construction. And also the season in China, the production of copper will disrupt, and also the unforeseen event affect the production of copper. A lack of mining project is limited supply, and another impact of a higher price was increased theft of copper mills, air conditioning units, and copper wires and copper pipes. Analysts predicted that increased quantities of copper will be available in 2007 due of several factors. First, the strike that occurred in 2006 were not expected to continue the next year. Second, the higher copper price encouraged companies to mine lower grade copper that would not have been economically visible with a lower price. However, the higher copper price also gave many copper users the incentive to find a substitute for metal. And because of the higher price of the copper, the other substitute materials will be the one who will be used. And for me, if I was a future businessman and woman, we should also need to be innovative on what we give to the market. We should look for our plan B for us to sustain our business in a long time. The demand lower, the higher the supply it is. And it's like a vice versa. And the copper company, it might be full, but will continue to use because of the new mining process called solvent extraction also allowed some companies to mine copper at a lower, which permitted more copper mines to stay in a business.
Good morning, my name is Melania R. Lopez. This is my case analysis related to the demand, supply, and equilibrium, demand and supply in the copper industry. Events has a big impact in the case of the price and quantity of copper. The copper industry serves as a signal for the status of the global company. The unforeseen events have also influenced the copper market in 2006 and 2007. The analysis predicted a decrease in the supply of copper in 2007 after many strikes and limited production in 2006. A lack of new mining projects also limited supply, given that many large known copper deposits were in areas with unstoppable government. Another impact of the high prices was the increased theft of copper coils, air conditioning units, copper wires, and copper pipes used for plumbing in homes and business cemetery rooms. Bases containing large amounts of copper continue with relatively high prices of copper in the subsequent years. Some factors that increase quantities of copper would be available in 2007. The first one is the strike that occurred in 2006, were not expected to continue the next year. Second is the higher copper prices encourage companies to mine lower graded copper that would not have been economically feasible with lower prices. The higher prices also gave many copper users the incentive to find substitute for the metal. The factor that influence between the copper demand and supply are an analysis of substantial decline in copper prices 10 years earlier from November 1997 to February 1998 illustrated many of these some factors. The 1997 financial crisis and recession in Southeast Asia had a significant impact on the copper industry, as did uncertain demand from China and the increased use of copper in communications technology in North America. Expectation also played a role, as many copper users were hesitant to buy because the thought prices might continuing their downward on trend. On the supply side, the low price of copper forced mining companies to decide whether certain high-cost mines should be kept in operations. However, a new mining process called solvent extraction also allowed some companies to mine copper at a lower cost, which permitted more copper mines to study in business. Number 2 is explain the company's behavior that a higher price of copper encouraged copper consumers to use substitute goods. My answer is the higher price of copper encouraged consumers for the substitute goods. Many of consumers for this generation is practical because of the higher price of the copper. Many of them will use the substitute like plastic and aluminum. Aluminum producer benefited from the high copper prices, and these prices stimulated the increased use of plastic piping and home construction. Forecast of future prices and production can be very uncertain, given the variety of factors operating on both the demand and supply side of the market. On report, estimated a surplus of 108,000 metric tons for the entire year. The extent of substitution with other products was also difficult to estimate, as was his substitution with scrap metal. Consumers make a way to put copper into a lower price, but it is not simple like that. The demand of copper is in the market, which not be easy to load the quantity of it. Consumers think that substitute good for copper is one of the best way to save money than to buy a higher price of copper because aluminum and plastic also uses now on the construction. That's all. Thank you.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Rafael G. Shana. In this analysis shows that the supply of the copper is related to its prices because the higher the supply, the lower of the price. In this case, the copper had a strong demand and high price. In year 2011, the copper analysts worried about further decrease in the price. So it means that the aluminum and plastic will come up this year. And we know that aluminum and plastic are more cheaper than the copper. And aluminum and plastic may use an alternative way for them. Copper influenced by the demand of Chinese that cause of demand is low in 2008 as the Chinese drew down their inventories when global prices were high and shut down. To the supply side, causing the low price of copper is mining company forced to decide whether certain drugs cost.
Hi, my name is Christine Joy Calvario, your next reporter from SAIS 2A. I am about to discuss the case analysis related to the demand, supply, and equilibrium. Demand and supply in the copper industry. I am going to explain the consumer's behavior that the higher price of copper encourages copper consumers to use substitute goods. But before we proceed and explain the number 2 requirement, let us first discuss the copper market and its significant usage. Copper has been called the doctor copper because of its significant usage in different industries. Number 1, from the construction industry to the production of the air conditioning units, copper wires and copper pipes used for plumbing in homes and business cemetery bronze bases. It caused the demand for coppers to elevate and of course, its price follows. So makikita po natin doon, nung naging demanding na nga po, nagkaroon ng mataas na demand po, nag-elevate po, nag-arise yung demand para sa copper. Siyempre po, yung mga supplier po, tumaas din yung kanilang price. Kasi nga gusto din nila na umita sa ano din po, sa business. Tulad nga po nung tinuro sa amin sa supply concept. As the price goes upward, yung supply din po ay nag-a-arise din. So, sabi naman po dito, year 2011, copper consumers reacted to produce high price. So, they find other alternatives with lower price such as plastic and aluminum. So, noong 2011 nga po, nakahanap po sila ng alternative or substitute good. Nahanap po nila yung plastic and aluminum because they both have the capacity to sustain the needs of the consumers. So, logically, they would take the opportunity to save money. So, sino nga ba naman ang aayaw sa mura kung magagawa din naman ito yung role nito ng copper, nakagaya ng copper. So, another alternative that they found was low-graded copper. It cost them lower price in mining industry and yet it's still considered copper. So, yung high-graded copper nga po, mahal siya. So, nakahanap sila ng ibang alternative which is the low-graded copper. Copper pa rin siya pero yun nga lang, mas mababa yung kalidad kung sa Tagalog. So, kapag ito yung ginamit mo, copper pa rin naman siya. Kung nagagawa naman nito yung dapat na ginagawa ng copper, so yun na rin yung mas gusto ng mga consumer. Tapos, kung matatandaan po natin yung concept ng demand, as the price goes upward, the demand goes downward. So, contrast po yung effect nila. Kapag yung price ay bumaba, contrast naman po, yung demand naman ay tataas. So, nung tumaas po yung presyo ng copper, so ang ibig sabihin po nun, bumaba naman yung demand. Kaya naghanap na lang ng ibang product or materials na pwedeng gamitin ng mga consumers po, mga businessmen. So, yun po. That's all. Thank you.